No, I'm just playing. It actually wasn't that steep at all. This is the Ampler Curt. So I'm very excited to show you guys this bike today. This bike is, I think, the lightest electric bike in the world with a full-size frame. This thing is incredibly lightweight. It's like 29 pounds, and it's so easy to pick this thing up literally with one hand from the top bar right there, and it's easy to just like carry it around, go upstairs with it. It's easy to maneuver. It's just a really lightweight bike, but it's still got some power, 250 watt motor, just a really sleek design overall. So let's go ahead and dive into this bike and check it out. Whew, okay, there's a lot to talk about with this bike. Really excited to share this bike with you guys today. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. There's a lot to go over, but I do want to start with just this motor back here. And I want to start with this because, I mean, the motor is really the only giveaway for this being an electric bike, right? I mean, like, how else would I know this is electric? The wires are internally routed. The batteries are internal. I mean, there's no display on the handlebars like a lot of electric bikes have. There's just not a lot of giveaways for it being electric. However, except for the motor back here, which again is kind of a small motor, so it's kind of inconspicuous. 250 watts of power, about 40 newton meters of torque. It is a geared hub motor, so it's going to give me a little bit more pep, a little bit more torque compared to a gearless hub motor. It's also not going to have cogging here in the back like a gearless motor would, which means like with a gearless motor, if I'm not pedaling, sometimes you'll get resistance from the magnets in the motor itself, which you just don't really get with a geared hub motor, which is good. Because it's also good because it's 250 watts, which, you know, realistically, not a whole lot of power, but it is enough to get this thing going to that top speed of 15 miles per hour. Yeah, I mean, it's not overly powerful, but that's kind of not the point of this bike, I feel like, you know? The top speed is a little bit lower than most electric bikes. 15 miles per hour, that's kind of like the EU top speed, right? So for America, which this bike is not available in the US yet, but when it does come here, you know, 15 miles per hour, it might feel a little slow, but again, it kind of makes sense. Just this whole setup is just a little bit different than a lot of electric bikes. It's very unique. So the 250 watt motor back here and that top speed of 15 miles per hour, coupled with the 20 tooth in the back and the 60 tooth up front, the gearing is really high on this bike. So to me, it feels like the way that I've been riding it is I use the motor to get me up to that top speed of 15 miles per hour. And then if I want to go faster than that, you know, I use my own pedal power. So it feels like the motor here is really to get me going to the top speed, as opposed to just carrying me the whole way like most electric bikes. So it's a different feeling for riding. It really feels like this the truest fixie style electric bike that I've tried so far. Obviously, it's not a real fixie, you know, because I can backpedal here. You can't have a fixie with a hub motor anyways, but you know, with this belt drive here, everything is so quiet. The operation on this is so quiet. You can barely even hear it going. Yeah, it's just dope. A lot of unique stuff here with this. So we got here on this side hydraulic disc brakes, front and rear, 160 millimeter rotors. in the front, 160 millimeter in the rear. Now what's dope about these hydraulic brakes is they just give so much stopping power, which is awesome. Also got these 2-finger levers here. These are adjustable, so if I wanted to take these in, I could. If I wanted to change it for my, for my reach, I can do that. It's just options, and that's one of the cool things about this bike. I think is, Ampler gives us a lot of options with this bike, a lot of upgrade paths. I mean, this thing is expensive out of the gate. It's like $3 grand USD for the base price, but the price can jump pretty quick. Like I can get racks for the back if I want, which is cool. I mean, it's cool. This thing has bosses here in the back for racks. I can actually, I think I can, there's bosses here for a derailleur, so I can actually make this like a 10-speed if I want. There's bottle cage bosses. I think they actually have a attachment or like an upgrade for like a front basket or something. There's just a lot of upgrades here. And like on this bike right here, I have the Brooks grips and saddle upgrade, which is really just dope. They're just really clean looking and feeling. You got kind of like this cotton fabric on top, and then like this kind of like rubbery deliciousness on the bottom. It just makes for a really nice grip, double locking as well, so they're not going to go anywhere. And then this Brooks saddle is also just really clean, really sleek. I'm gonna try to get a good shot of this for you guys. I'm trying to get out of the light. There we go. Yeah, it's just a nice saddle, but again, this is an upgrade feature, right? So this does cost more money. On this bike, I also got the light package. So hopefully you guys can see this. There's actually lights on the back of the seat post here. So these light up when the bike is on. There's also an integrated front headlamp. Bam, right there. It's pretty bright. Does a good job of not only illuminating my path, but also increasing my visibility overall. And one of my favorite things about this is, I mean, besides the fact that it's just so sleek and clean, is the torque sensor down here is so responsive. So, I mean, really, whenever I put pressure on the cranks, the motor activation and shut off is just boom, man. It's like instantaneous. It's so quick. And I love that compared to a cadence sensor, which just takes kind of, longer to get going. And that's frustrating sometimes, that start and stop with the cadence sensor and that delay, but with the torque sensor, not an issue at all. I also really like this right here. This is how the bike is turned on from the frame. So all I gotta do, just tap it once and it comes to life. If I want to turn on the headlights or turn them off from the bike, I just hold it down. Okay, let's double check. Let's see if that actually worked. Yeah, there we go. So we can see the front headlight is on right here, and we should be able to see the tail lights active as well. Yeah, nice and bright. Very cool. And then same thing, if I want to turn the lights off, I just got to hold it again. But it also comes with an app. So if I wanted to actually see how fast I'm going, how much battery I have left, I have to pull out the app, because again, there's no display on this. So I don't really have a lot of feedback to what's going on the electronics of the bike. But for me, that's okay. I don't really care about that because this bike isn't about, having a fancy display. It's about being minimal. It's about being clean. It's about being, honestly, just really sleek and good looking, I think. There's just a lot of really high-end components here. I mean, everything's aluminum. Everything's really lightweight. And like I was saying, just overall, I love the weight of this. It's so lightweight. Like 29 pounds is just awesome, especially for me, living upstairs. It just makes it easy to carry this thing. So you know what, let's actually take this bike out for a quick ride. right, awesome peeps. That is pretty much it for the Ampler Curt review. Again, I mean, in my experience, this is the lightest electric bike in the world so far that I've seen with a full-size frame. And of course, we're talking about a real electric bike because, you know, if I put a 1-volt battery and like a, I don't know, like a 1-watt motor on there, yeah, technically it's an electric bike, but this is a real working electric bike. And before we finish out here, I mean, I want to talk about, you know, what I feel like kind of separates this bike from, you know, the rest of the other electric bikes out there. And to me, I mean, look, first of all, again, this thing is like a little bit over $3 large, right? For the base price, and there's a lot of upgrades that can get the price up to like $3,600, $3,800. So this bike does not come cheap, but I think that what it offers is very unique. But I don't think it's for everybody. Like, I think this bike would really speak to people like me who really love that single speed vibe, who really love that fixie culture, who really likes the minimalist vibe, right? Who really wants to be able to just get on a bike, turn it on and just go and not have to worry about really anything and not be sticking out like a sore thumb. Being able to get around the city, being able to get up and down stairs, bring it into shops, not have to like struggle picking it up and carrying it around. For people like that, I think this bike is really going to shine, and it's also going to appeal to people who, realistically, like, they are willing to pay a little bit more for the finer things. Like, there's some nicer components on this bike, right? And that's part of why it costs so much, not just because it's so lightweight, but because there's some good stuff in here as well. I mean, those hydraulic brakes, this belt drive system, the torque sensor is just really mwah. I mean, the torque sensor is a thing of beauty on this bike. It's so responsive. The app that comes with it is actually really, really nice as well. Ampler did a good job of polishing the app and getting it ready to go before launching it. I've seen a lot of other apps where it just feels like it's still in beta, you know what I'm saying? But this one, it feels good. I don't know, it all feels right. So, one thing I forgot to mention that, you know, another upgrade here that they have, which I got, which I think is awesome, is they have puncture resistant tires here. They got like a Kevlar lining inside. So that's just another option here. They're all actually the Kevlar lining here. These tires, the upgrade ones, even though they have the puncture protection, are actually a few grams lighter as well. Normally, a few grams doesn't matter for electric bikes, but for, again, something like this where weight is really an issue, trying to keep it as minimal as possible, every gram does count, right? And so when we're trying to keep this thing at or below 30 pounds, all the little stuff just kind of adds up. So anyways, I hope you awesome peeps are just having a super dope day. Here in California, it has been beautiful. I hope you guys can see this view behind me. I mean, like, fall is happening. Like, the leaves are finally changing. It's just beautiful. It's just having an awesome time. So I hope you guys are having an awesome day as well. And I will catch you guys next time.